Salam sejahtera, guys. Welcome to another episode of podcast. My name is Adam.
Again, I'm Diki and we are from the Divelog podcast. Today we have someone really interesting. She's a good friend of mine, Young, an IDC staff. He owns a dive business. He have had the business for about 5 years or so now. What we're going to be talking about today is basically women in diving.
So without further ado, I would like to introduce you guys to Melanie Hua.
Melanie Hua, welcome to
Flow
the
Dive
podcast.
Center.
Hello guys. Yes, my name is Melanie. Thank you for the lovely introductions. I have been running Flow Dive Center for the last 5 years. In fact, this month is our 5th anniversary. So it's nice to be here.
Congratulations on your anniversary.
Time flies.
I've been sort of like following Mel's journey with Flow Dive Center since the beginning. 5 years is not an easy feat. You started right before COVID.
Exactly.
It's quite something for you. It's a big achievement, I would say.
Yes. So these are the things that we want to be talking about as well, right? We want to know how is it for the dive industry that Mel is able to start just before COVID, go through the hurdle of the COVID situation. I think it was about 2 years or so of COVID. So the ups and downs, these are things that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, why don't we start with Mel
Yes.
as a scuba diver first before we get into business and the dive center. So Mel, would you like to tell us?
How did you started in diving? I mean, what made you go into diving? Was it just a hobby or was introduced to you? If you can just
a little bit background about myself. Scuba diving is actually the very first thing that I bought with my own money when I first graduated.
Okay.
I mean, barring all the necessary, insurance, blah, blah, blah. The first thing that I actually bought for myself, because I've always wanted to do scuba diving. Because growing up, my mom always bring me to the beach. We always do snorkeling. Something that I've always wanted. So I've been diving for a good 12 years. Pretty much know how old am I. Initially, it was only just fun diving. Made it a point to go for a dive trip once a year at least. Probably about 7-8 years ago, decided to quit my job. I used to be a marketeer, quit my job, and then I thought, scuba diving, maybe that's something that I can make money off instead of just it being a hobby. Did my course, did my instructor course, and then I was freelancing for about 4 years. Doing my own students, and everything was very good. That leads up to this space being available just before COVID on August of 2019. I thought, after 4 years, everything is great. Why not challenge ourselves? So I did August of 2019 and then March 2020. We all know what happened lah.
just a few months on the road, then bam.
Yes, bam.
Okay.
Yeah, why I like scuba diving? Purely because I like the ocean. The encounters that I have that no one, I would say, would have the same ever encounter. Like whatever you have, the first encounter with a whale shark, or a manta ray, or even the discovery of macro creatures, on the ship, so many different things underwater, as constant adventure and discovery. And I think that's what keeps me going back to scuba diving all the time, even after 12 years of diving. I know for a fact actually that I don't think I'll ever get bored of scuba diving because it's just so many things. Something that I'm interested currently is actually to go more into tech diving. Something probably 12 years ago myself will never think about. But as you dive more and as you learn more and as you see more, your interest grows. And I think the best thing about scuba diving is there's always something for someone. Be it that whatever level you're in or whatever interest that you have, there's always something for someone. And that's why I think I can safely and confidently say I would be diving for a very long time, even whether or not I'm going to be in this industry as a career. Just for diving itself, it's something that I will do for life.
But what is exactly that made you stay with diving? Because as long as you can get under the water, if you don't even see anything, that is good enough. Some people want to go and see big stuff. Some people want to dive deep. But what is it for you? What made you stay in, you said you did 12 years of diving. But what actually made you love diving so much?
That constant discovery, I think that's what I said. And like you said, right? So 12 years and I'm in the industry, so I see a lot of different kinds of divers. A lot of people fall out of it. A lot of people come back after many, many years. And I see a lot of people have different motivation and drive. And I ask myself as well, right? Because as a dive pro, sometimes it gets a little bit dry.
Okay.
So you need to...
Well, being a CD as well,
Yeah,
you're consistently dry, but hey, then diving.
But I think for me, it's the constant discovery. Looking back, let's say 12 years ago, what I like and what I like now is also different.
Uh-huh.
And that constant discovery and that constant differentiation that I can get out of diving is something that I love. And like I said, beginner divers always love to see the big stuff. Obviously, I still do. There was a period I was just into macro. The constant discovery is like treasure hunting for me. And macro is beautiful. Like there's so many things, so weird, so interesting to just stare and look at them, go about their day. I still love both. I went for wreck diving as well in Micronesia beginning of the year. Love it. Didn't think that I would like wreck so much. But like I said, there's just so many things actually. That's why I said till I'm old, if I'm able, physically and also monetarily. I think I would be doing diving still lah. Because there's just too many things.
From that 12 years of being a diver before you even embark in business, right? So you did diving. It's not common for people to just do diving and then want to go for tech diving. How did that tech diving interest came to you?
For me, I think it's more of a natural progression. I've seen a lot of really gung-ho divers that they climb superbly fast and they want that. For me, it's just, like I said, it's a natural progression for me. I've been doing this for 12 years. Basic diving is easy. For me, of course, constant developments and all keeps me very interested as well. I think it's also that constant change. Like I said, beginning of this year, I went to Micronesia for wreck diving. And that was like, actually, no, it's not that bad. I would love to go deeper to explore more, because when I did Micronesia in Chuk, I was on side mount, but we were still recreational diving in the sense of the depth. We did challenge the depth a little bit, but then obviously we cannot go beyond. There were also a different group that was doing tech diving, so they went even beyond, and then they were sharing more about what else they see.
Yeah.
Meeting people on trips also kind of like, make you very curious about what is the possibilities that you are actually not seeing because you're not able to yet. So I think the curiosity and also the sense of adventure that kind of drives me to want to do it lah.
Okay.
Speaking of the people that you meet in scuba diving, we have this question from one of our audience. Who actually inspired you? Who do you look up to when it comes to scuba diving? Or is there anyone in particular,
Jacques Cousteau. No, go ahead.
Actually, honestly, I don't. I'm not the kind of person that I would say idolize people lah. I think great for a lot of people that does. I'm the type of person that I'm very internally driven. If someone would have asked me to do tech diving last time, I'm like, you go ahead. I will not be driven because you want to do it. Everyone is doing it. But again, like I said, it was my own journey that eventually I came to this point that I feel, hey, actually I want to do it. Yeah. So I think I'm very internally motivated in that sense. I am not challenged. I'm not, how do I put it? Competitive. Going back to the whole point why diving, right, is because of the sense of exploration and curiosity. My main drive was always that. Like, so if I am curious now, okay, I would do it, But if someone forced me to do it or whatever, I might not have done it because I just don't feel interested in it. So back to the point whether if someone is, what you say, someone that I look up to. Influence, yeah. Not really. Mentors, yes, but not so much like I want to be that kind of person, but mentors are different. In the sense of, let's say if there's someone that I look up to and all, not really lah. Mentors, a million.
After many years of, diving and so on, that led you to this particular business.
Yes.
You can, elaborate on the history of Flow and what was the drive for developing Flow Dive Center?
Earlier I've mentioned was freelancing instructor for about a good 4 years. And then this space used to be a different dive center, and then I overheard that they are letting it go. So I thought, why not? Great location, PJ Palms, and then started having discussions with the management, looking for investors and whatnots, and everything fell into place. We opened up again in August of 2019. Everything was revamped, the whole space compared to before. Way cleaner. That's the vision that I wanted for Flow, to look different and comfortable for divers. We opened up 2019 of August after a huge revamp of the space. We started welcoming a lot of divers. Instructors came over, they used our facilities. It was also towards the tail end of 2019 season. So we thought, let's use this time to start building the brand. So come March 2020, we're ready to gear up. And I remember I was on Tioman actually, when the government announced, hey, everything is going to be locked down in 2 days. So I was on Tioman, I was freaking out, like what is happening? I think a lot of people were also like, what's happening, right, at that point. So I had to stop the course halfway. I told my students we'll continue after. The next day we have to make our way back. Then after that, again, COVID was a huge up and down. I can't say for sure that COVID was horrible because we had really good times during COVID. I think the first 3 months was, of course, all silent. Next following 3 months was crazy busy. We had to turn a lot of customers away because we cannot service them. Subsequently, we were also closed down again. We were always the first to close and the last to open, unfortunately. It was multiple MCOs. I lost count. MCO 2.0, 3.0, whatever. It was difficult. And then 2022, I think, year end of 2022, we opened up. But again, it's year end. But good thing is because towards the monsoon season, we are still operational. We actually go to Sabah, Sempurna to conduct our courses. And of course, we have the pool here to do our confine first. We go from there. So we push our, even though it's tail end of the season, we still have opportunity to still conduct courses and trips. And then 2023 was a stellar year. It was crazy. Everyone was busy. 2024 was good, but there was a slight drop purely because I think the borders opened up already. So a lot of people were going abroad. Yeah, so it has been a very interesting journey. I think it is really like a roller coaster, ups and downs.
Like any other business as well.
Like any other business. Yeah, so 5 years is a blink of an eye, but also not so much. But yeah, we are very proud that it's been 5 years, and the brand is doing great. People know about us.
So Mel, I would like to actually know how does the name Flow comes about? Because I think it's an interesting name for a dive center.
Yeah. At the beginning, I thought it was a dive center that do a lot of cave diving because of flow and that kind of stuff, right?
Well,
so yeah.
I actually have a friend who opens a yoga center that names Flow.
Okay. Flow yoga. All right.
Yeah, Flow Yoga, and this is Flow Dive Center, which is why I'm interested. How does the name Flow comes about?
So Flow Yoga opened quite around the same time as when we opened also. We did not know that they were going to open, and a lot of people had that question also. Oh, do you own Flow Yoga? So, nope. We are not related. I don't know the owner. Maybe, Adam can introduce us. But yeah. How Flow came about, the name, I actually had this idea before we even secured the space. So again, 4 years in, it was kind of like a progression. Maybe I was thinking of creating like a community. So not so much a dive center back then, but more so like a community of divers lah, How and why is because also related to yoga. So I do yoga and I also do rock climbing also. The long story is basically if you're interested, it's a little bit philosophical, but if you're interested, you can go and read up about the state of flow. So a lot of athletes or anyone that is at the top of their game, like anything that they do, with so much practice and repetitive doing, a lot of us sometimes find ourselves in this state of flow where you're performing at the best that your whatever body or whatever can do without you even thinking. It was actually from the idea of the state of flow. It's going to be a long conversation about this, but it's basically from that. And same with flow, what I wanted to do is I wanted to create that state of flow for people while diving, that you don't think so much about it. And I think both of you also don't think so much now because it has been diving so many years, right? Versus remember the first day of you doing your open water, you'll be thinking, oh, this is it. So many things that you're thinking about. But eventually, as we do through repetition, through practice, we eventually achieve this state of flow. Yeah, so flow, the name flow actually came from there. It just sounds great. Our logo looks like a wave, and it's actually inspired by the Japanese enso, which is a zen, which means zen. But yeah, we made it look like a wave as well. So everything falls into place.
To you, as the owner of the dive center, what is flow to you, and where would you like to bring flow to in the near future?
What is flow to me?
It's your baby.
What is the purpose of flow?
To me,
Yes, of course.
So again, it was very progressive, right? Like I said, quit my job, freelance instructor, open up a dive center. So like what Diki says, it's my baby. What is it moving forward for everyone? Actually, I want flow to be a community space. I think since day one, that's something I really wanted to do, is to have a space where people can come and go at any time and meet different kinds of divers as well. Because one of the most common things that I hear from divers is that they stop diving because their previous diving buddies stopped diving because of getting married, giving birth, and then they're like, oh, I have no one to dive with. And I feel that that's very sad because there's constantly new divers, The thing or the gap that I see is that a lot of divers, after getting their certification or whatnots from the island, they come back to KL and then there's no people or there's no community here. But they don't know where to find, to kind of get or be belonging to somewhere. Because like I said, I do rock climbing, and rock climbing in the recent years has progressed. It has grown a lot, but then I started climbing maybe about 10 years ago. It's a very, very small community and we see each other every day. But diving, it's difficult because, again, people dive only like a holiday once a year, right? So we do want to create that space, and that's why we do have, like, if you want to come over and rent your own gears, come and practice yourself. It's easy access. We do have also community social nights. We have not had one this year yet. We've been probably busy. But we do have activities like that to actually get people to just come and know each other.
And also being a dive center right in the middle of the city, what do you think is the biggest difference between your dive center and those dive centers on the islands?
One thing is we have the pool here 24/7. Of course, we only open 10 to 7. But you can always practice. And same with any other skill, be it driving or whatnot. Practice makes perfect. So a lot of open water students that actually dropped out because they don't practice enough. And then the following dive trip may be 6 months down the road, 1 year down the road, 5 years down the road. And then they start getting very worried and afraid. So that is something that is different, that we have the pool here for you to come and practice. On top of that, like our open water course and all, what we do is we break it down into 3 portions: theory, pool, and island. So theory and pool will actually conduct it in KL first to make sure that you have mastery of skill. So your pool session is gonna introduce you to the skills, introduce you to being underwater, get comfortable, and then only you go to the island. So with that said, you can practice until whenever our instructors say that you're comfortable to go, and then we'll go to the island. That would increase your chances of success much better. And then, of course, then on the island, we'll complete the 4 open water dives over there. And because most of the big chunk of the course, the theory and the pool is done, on the island, your schedule is so much more free and easy. It's literally like a holiday.
Exactly.
You don't need to stress about studying. You truly just go and dive, right? So the schedule is much more comfortable compared to an island-based dive center that we're offering. And of course, we do equipments, we have dive trips that, you know, you can always join us, get to know other divers. So we offer different kinds of services and different islands as well. So for open water course itself, we rotate between Tioman, Tenggol, Perhentian, Sempurna for monsoon period. So yes, during monsoon, you can also do your open water course. So there is much more flexibility in the sense of scheduling that we have. Dive center.
Great. Yeah, because a lot of times when people dive, when people learn to dive, they go out, spend 4 days, and sometimes, you know, when you need more than 4 days, most of the times the divers need more than 4 days, right? Individually, the progress
everyone's progress is different, yeah.
So that's good. And you take up dive courses in the CD-based dive center, you can take your time, develop, and really, you know, have the solid knowledge experience before you go out to dive. When you're on the island, there's no pressure, enjoying your dive, and so on and so forth, right? Yeah, sweet. Okay, Adam, you're looking at me. Why?
I'm just looking at you talking. That's all. Oh yeah, and I've also noticed that where we are at right now is actually we are at Flow Dive Center, and I've actually noticed that it's actually quite an inviting dive center.
It is.
As Mel mentioned, she wants to create a community.
Yeah.
So I reckon it can be a place for just divers to come and hang out and enjoy themselves, to talk about scuba diving, or even
share
not
experience, maybe. Yeah. Or maybe just to come and chit chat and have a shot or drinks or what's.
We have craft beers, we have beers, we have coffee. We have we want to create a space that is very welcoming and warm, like you said. For anyone just wants to come and, you know, just share and learn. We have trips, we have so many different things that, you know, at the end of the day, diving is a leisure sport, and I want everyone to share this love that I have for diving.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just to create this space for it.
Can I also ask, so we have genders, right? In terms of your customers or your clients, which one do you have more, the male or female?
So interestingly, I think I would still say again, no proper data, just top of mind, just what I think, I put my personal opinion. I still think that compared to 12 years ago, it is still a very male-dominated industry, not just in terms of business, but also for divers in general. But in the recent years, we do see more women coming up and joining diving, you know, taking up their licenses. And a lot of them are really, really, really adventurous, and they're up for, you know, going in the sun, challenging themselves. More people going to tech diving as well. More people going to free diving and mermaid. So many women that are actually now more interested in this industry. When
they come to you and they ask about diving, what are the common questions that they ask?
Like in terms of women or
women, yeah. I mean, for example, I don't know, is it good for women? Is it scary? Is it, you know, what are the common questions do women ask when they come up?
A lot of things. I think mainly number one is, is the tank heavy? Can I carry it? You know. Another thing is about menstrual cycle. This is a very, very common one that maybe we can talk a little bit more later.
Yeah.
There is also about, you know, sensitivity. I think this one is more for the Muslimah community. It's a great thing that, you know, I'm a female instructor. So a lot of the Muslimah community, they would want the female instructor also to be their teacher. So there's a lot of sensitivity, especially us in Malaysia, about, you know, boundaries. I think that's something that we can also talk about later. Yeah, so about women generally, I think the main concern would be whether they can do it or not. I think mainly it's about physical. It's heavy, can we do it? You know, that kind of things. But you'll be surprised, actually a lot of women, smallest girl that I've seen, superbly strong, like carrying the tank like nobody's business. Yeah, and insisting on doing it themselves. So there are a lot of women that are very, very strong nowadays.
But then again, equipment-wise, there are a lot of equipment options, right? When you talk about tanks and so on, there are small tanks you can use for smaller build individuals and stuff.
I've recently read that statistically, 1/3 of scuba divers are actually female now.
1/3, okay.
1/3. So it's roughly 30 to 40%. And it's increasing every single day. As I think all three of us can see from the dive centers that we
Yes.
go and when we go diving, which is actually a very good sign.
It is, yes.
Why don't we just delve straight into women in diving? Let's not wait any further. We can talk about this since Mel is here.
Yeah.
She's the perfect person to talk to, being a female scuba instructor and owner of a dive center. She is probably the perfect person to talk to when it comes to problems and also challenges that women face in scuba diving.
Yeah.
Mel, you did mention about the menstrual cycles. One of the most asked questions that you get from them.
Yes.
Would you care to explain that to us?
So I think we get a lot of women that comes over and they will be like, let's say for example, they've scheduled a dive this weekend, and they'll be like messaging us and like, can I reschedule? And our common answer is no, because we can all dive. I dive all the time. I teach all the time whenever there is a menstrual cycle, And there are a lot of different options now in the market. I've even actually did a video on our Instagram that teaches, different options such as tampons, menstrual cups, things like that are easily available for us. No any effect at all. Like I don't feel anything. Sometimes I forget about it. And during diving, literally nothing. You don't feel anything at all. To answer the question is yes, definitely we can dive during cycle. Don't let menstrual cycle stop us. It is just a natural phenomenon that happens to women every month, and that shouldn't affect us in any manner. And same likewise for diving, it has no issues at all. So you can definitely dive.
Is there any precaution that female diver can take when they are having menstrual cycle and going scuba diving? What would you advise them to do?
So certain people, they would take pills to delay their menstrual cycle. That is also one of the options that we have mentioned. It's something that I personally would not recommend, because when you delay, of course, you're changing the hormones of your body. And that's something that you, like especially for me, I dive every month, right? So if I'm constantly taking it, it's not going to be good in the long run. So that's why I said there are different options. For example, like tampons and menstrual cups that are easily applicable, basically, that you can easily put it on and easily changeable and safe, 100% safe for women. And like I said, on land and underwater, application of this tampons and menstrual cup has literally zero difference while you're diving, and also on land is really different. No difference at all that you feel. The only recommendation is that we need to just go to the toilet more often. Just change. It's just purely for cleanliness reasons. As with what you would do anyway, even if you're on land working, you would still change more. It's the same thing. So comes to diving, it is really no difference. Feeling also no difference. Unless if you're talking about maybe menstrual pains.
Cramps.
So
how do you manage that? Let's say, have you come across divers who have cramps?
Yes.
I mean, menstrual cramps underwater.
Yes, myself also sometimes. Okay. Again, I think this is also subjective, because pain tolerance is subjective, right? So everyone is different. So there are options now that you can get, like, the painkillers, especially the Panadol pink color one. That's for menstrual pains. Those are, of course, something that I wouldn't recommend if you can take it. Most of the time, it's just minor. But again, like I said, this is subjective. So everyone's pain tolerance is different. So it's a bit hard to say. But there are painkillers for this case, for that matter. At the end of the day, the woman would know their body better. You have to either resort back to the doctors to ask. But it's not that it's not doable. For example, I have a course that I have to teach, horrible pain, then I just pop a painkiller. But very rare. Usually, unless I cannot take it, then I have to do it, then I will. But it's very, very rare.
So you're saying menstrual cramp is common when you have menstrual cycle.
Normal, regardless diving or not. If you have, then it's normal. It's not just because of diving you have more pains, no.
Okay.
It's just like your normal menstrual cycle where you already have the pain and then you have to go diving. Then you manage it as per normal. Like maybe if you would take a painkiller, then you would take painkiller. There's no difference. diving doesn't make it worse also. There is no difference. Yeah, diving is not a cause that makes it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when people say it would be dangerous when I have my menstrual cramp underwater, it's not the case. Okay, clear, done. So hopefully the girls out there, these questions will, all of this will answer your questions.
You know, Diki, prior to this podcast, I actually went and did some research in regarding to this menstrual cycle when it comes to scuba diving. Every time I read an article regarding this topic, right, surprisingly, there's this one common question that a lot of people ask. Exactly.
What? Shark. Oh.
So
blood, shark, and so on. So okay.
Yes. So, but
interesting. Let's go on with this.
A lot of the articles did mention. Maybe I can summarize it for you guys. What I found. So the residue actually does attract sharks, but in generally, humans are not their target. We are not their meals. We are not their lunch. We are not their dinner. We are not their breakfast. So obviously, they might get attracted to it. But then again, they are probably not interested in doing anything to us. Most likely, they are just going to swim away. Sharks are really shy animals. I mean, most sharks are shy animals in compare to what we see in television.
So you're saying it's like us humans. So when we go to a restaurant, if you smell something good, it's what we like to eat, and then we go for it. But if it's not something that we don't like, then we just sway off from the restaurant. Same thing goes to the sharks, maybe. So from that smell, say, this is not seal, this is not my food, so no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So they might get curious. They might come and have a look, but then in the end, again, actually, I would say 99% of the time, nothing will happen.
So
they're just curious.
From what I know, also again, my little knowledge, I'm not a scientist or anything. When we're in the water, it actually doesn't leak out because there is pressure. It's only when you're above and there's gravity, right? So maybe the residue you're talking about is maybe there is leaked out, maybe. But that compared to the water in the ocean is nothing. It's really literally a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
So far, I've been diving a lot of sharks. During menstrual, I'm still alive. Don't worry.
But then again, it's not like the shark is everywhere in the sea. So
yeah.
there's only areas where you will find sharks.
Yeah.
Some areas you don't. So
Mel did mention that a lot of girls are actually concerned about their limitation when it comes to physiology. For instance, their physical attributes. Like they're worried about whether they are able to carry tanks or not. And not only physically, but also mentally. Scuba diving is not a hobby that is straightforward, I would say. I mean, obviously, because you need to take courses and you need to, experience, you need to dive often in order to be good at it. So it does take mental and physical toughness when it comes to that. Mel, what do you think about this in terms of for women?
Like I said earlier, I think nowadays a lot of women are much stronger, both mentally and physically. Like myself, I do rock climbing as well. A lot of women are now physically exercising more also compared to, let's say, 40 years. A lot more women are housewives, Nowadays, people are a little bit more adventurous. They do much more sports and activities. So physically, I think women are getting stronger. And also mentally as well. You'll be surprised that I have met actually more women that are physically and more mentally tougher than men at times.
Woohoo!
Like you said, the mental resilience, of doing this, exploring a whole new world, taking the course. Of course, you need some toughness, mentally also to go through it. To get used to something that is a totally different environment, We've been breathing on land for the last, 20, 30 years, right? And then suddenly now learning something new, breathing again underwater is totally different. Some women, like I said, even much more stronger, much more resilient than men in the sense of challenging themselves. Of course, everyone is scared, men and women alike, both are the same. But overcoming them, I have seen some women, like I said, even tougher than men. I think regardless gender, at the end of the day, it boils down to the person itself.
Yeah.
So don't feel limited by your gender. Same thing with what we've mentioned earlier also, the benefit of doing here in KL first, you have the pool and all, is to actually slowly build that confidence level and to build that mental toughness also. So instead of throwing you straight into the ocean, you start off with like a kindergarten first lah, in the pool here first. So it's a progress that we slowly build that mindset and that mental mindset. Then eventually we go to the island. So don't worry, we are here to really build both physical and mental. Again, same thing with what Diki also said. If you're worried about your size, you're not very strong, there's always options, smaller tanks, different options on gearing up. So all this will be taught and provided to you during the course itself. So don't get deterred. Don't feel scared that, you're not strong enough or no, you're not mentally tough enough just because you're a woman. The moment if you're willing to step in and step up, we will help you go there. Don't just be limited because you're women.
Yeah. Over the times that we were on the islands, there were a couple of women we saw or we met who are really active diver, and it speaks to the both physical and mental fitness. And if you're listening, I think you know who you are. We met this particular girl who comes to the island all by herself, gear up on her own, setting up her equipment, does side mount diving, and then she went to dive trips all by herself, and then meeting people along the way and that kind of stuff. So as opposed to a lot of us boys, we always, even like me and Adam, if you ask me, I won't go to the island alone because I want to have someone to talk with, that kind of stuff. So yeah, with that, I do agree with what you're saying. Women nowadays are really strong and physical and mental fitness both. Sometimes it's just, putting your mindset to it and then get it done. And you won't know until you try it, right?
Correct. And I love your stats that you're saying, like 1/3 of divers are actually women now. So it's happy to see the numbers are growing.
We want to see women coming up to instructor levels and more taking the professional roles in scuba diving. I want to see more IC staff, course directors. I'm an instructor, that's definitely.
To that point, I do also want to see that. I think most of my DMs are still male. I think a lot of concern when it comes to dive pro switch, right? It's also the idea of, I have to carry the tanks. Can I physically do it, as a dive master? Yeah, of course we have to, but it's not something that is difficult. You eventually, as with anything you do the first time, it's going to be tough. You'll feel very, very tired. By the end of your DM, trust me, you'll be carrying like nobody's business. And all the guys will be staring like, whoa, And it's very normal. So our body adapt and our body actually builds itself up.
Yeah.
For dive pros, again, men and women, I think there's pros and cons when it comes to both,
Yeah.
Different roles and in fact, like I love working with, of course, both sex or both genders for instructors are great, but I love working with women instructors sometimes because it's a very different approach that they take when it comes to let's say difficult students or students that have issues. Certain people are a little bit more nurturing. They'll take more time to maybe explain it in a different way. Not to say men doesn't, but it's interesting to see women's approach as well. There is no better gender. I think both are just different and both has pros and cons that we can utilize. We can work with and make do with the pros and cons.
So speaking about pros and cons, would you guys like to hear what I found?
Yeah.
Let's go with the pros. What is the advantage of women in scuba diving?
Okay.
Number one is their gas consumption is much lower in compared to men.
Smaller lungs, okay.
Yes. I mean, due to their physical size and lungs, right? So obviously they will last longer when it comes to gas consumption.
Gas consumption, okay.
So in a way, women actually dive safer. They have more time when they're underwater.
So you get to really maximize the same tank size.
I have known divers that go down on a 1.5 hour dive and they come up with more than half a tank. It's common. It's quite common actually for female divers. For us men, if we come out in 50 bars, we are good. Yeah, but women,
It's always
More
good
than
to
half a
have
tank.
women as your buddy.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know you have a lot of gas
gas reserves.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's like side mount, but
Yes. Okay, number 2.
Uh-huh.
They are better when it comes to buoyancy.
Okay.
It's because of the fat distribution in their body.
Right.
Their trim are usually better when it comes
Yes,
comes
that's for
to
sure. Yeah.
yes. So I mean, being an instructor, both of you both probably noticed that also. The
Very
difference
true. That's very true,
between
yeah.
men and women.
Yeah.
Women are generally more buoyant than men, so they are actually easier when it comes to buoyancy
Yes.
and training and getting to the right level of buoyancy to become a good diver.
Yep.
So both of you agree with that as
Yes.
well?
Yeah. True to
Yes.
experience. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and then the third one is, of course, females are more safe conscious. They are more detail oriented when it comes to scuba diving. Men will just grab a tank and jump down to the water without
deal with it when
having
it
a second
comes.
thought. Yeah,
I always
but,
have the woman buddy.
yeah, and women are actually a bit more detail oriented, so they will check before they actually jump into the water.
They micromanage all the time. Yes.
Don't say that. I mean,
It's a good thing. I'm not saying anything. It's a positive back.
yeah. So these are some of the advantage of women when it comes to scuba diving. But of course, there are some disadvantages also which we are still discussing. One of it is, what do you think it's dangerous for women when it comes to scuba diving in comparison to men?
Honestly, I think gender doesn't play a role at all. Honestly, personally, I think a lot of people do ask that. Like, is it dangerous, especially for women? I feel it's exactly the same kind of dangers that we are exposed to for men and women. There's no specific danger for women. Likewise, if you're properly trained, if you know your theory properly, you know your knowledge properly, both men and women, it's exactly the same, I think. Men or women, the same. Good to hear you're saying that, women is a little bit more safety conscious. Technically, maybe it's less dangerous for women in diving than men. I don't know. Yeah.
Men are dangerous because we ask for it ourselves.
Yeah. Thrill seekers.
Another thing that I found out that one of the problems and one of the issues that women have when it comes to scuba diving is equipment, especially when it comes to attire. The most common one right now, according to a lot of the polls and a lot of survey, is wetsuits. There are already a lot of manufacturers or brands that is coming out with women's cutting for wetsuits. But generally speaking, as you guys know, most of the dive centers carry generic unisex type, which might not fit women sometimes. So that is one of the problems. But apart from that, what is your opinion when it comes to attire?
So I think exactly what you said. I think in the last 12 years compared to when I started diving, right? The industry has grown a lot and very fast. But 12 years ago, everything is black. Everything is black. There's not a lot of options, styles. Everything is pretty similar. A lot of men are option as in cuttings. But nowadays, there's so many options like colors, shapes, design. If you want cute patterns, there are.
Yeah.
If you want stylo patterns, there are also. Men and women, again, with I think 1/3 of the diving industry, right? The diving community are women. I think manufacturers are also looking into that as a monetary opportunity, to start selling more women products, women wetsuit, women hoodies, because physically our sizes are different. It would make sense that there will be more of these options. And also, again, women wants to be more stylo-malo lah. They want to be colorful. They also want to look great underwater. There are a lot of different options now. There are certain options, they call it the skin suit. There is like a rash on the top, but it's like a whole full swimsuit. And some people are wearing socks just with it only. Something that I will not do because I'm very scared of cold. But there are also Muslimah options that are available. I do have a lot of Muslim students, and there are a lot of different options to suit what you want and what you need. So especially Muslim women, if you're worried about exposures, there are options for you, and you can wear however you feel comfortable while achieving the same goal, which is to dive together. Don't worry, I think, so much about exposure. I think especially some Muslim customers, they'll be worried about, oh, do I need to wear something exposing? No, not really. There's a lot of different options right now.
So I have this question for both of you. So speaking about modesty, right? What do you think about the relations between men and women, male and female? What is ethical when it comes to dealing with the opposite sex? For example, do you guys actually ask for consent at the beginning of the course? There might be times that I need to touch you. There might be times that I need to, be physically close to you. What do you guys think?
So for me, generally, if I need to touch anyone for that matter, girl or guy, right? I would ask if, let's say, for example, okay, just to adjust and everything, I'll just say like, is it okay that I touch you or whatever? I would generally just ask. But of course, when it comes to cases where it's emergency, let's say they bolt up or whatever, I have a different technique to deal with both men and women, but to ensure that we do not cross the line of boundaries, physical boundaries. There's proper ways of how I would actually manage the students by holding the bottom of the BCD instead of the strap of the BCD to avoid sensitive areas, which is applicable for both men and women. But I think one thing maybe for women instructor, we're a little bit more lucky in the sense that if we touch guys, guys are fine. If we touch women, women are fine as well. So maybe in that sense, women instructor are a little bit more...
Safer.
Yeah, we are safer.
Safer in
I
that
would
regards,
say.
yeah.
But for male instructor, what about you, Diki?
Well, over the years of me teaching, right, first of all, the amount of female students and male students, mainly I teach a lot of male. So I do get female, but I guess the female that I've come across or I have conducted courses with does not have all of this issue. Consent-wise, yes, a couple of times, but I don't really do it, not because of any reason. Just sometimes it's not a practice. The way I deal with my students, especially when I have female divers, is that they have issues. I will point it out to them and get them to take charge of themselves. So overcome the issues by themselves first. If they can't, and then I will tell them, do you need my help? Then I will act accordingly. So those are the things that I do. Very minor physical interaction between male and female anyways. This topic that we are talking about mainly maybe due to the fact that there are gender sensitivity, especially in Asia, in Muslim, or maybe just female in general, like female don't want to be taken advantage of. But the thing is, you may have a certain perception towards male or male instructor, but not all of us want to just touch female, because bear in mind, it's also our name, it's our bread and butter.
Yeah.
We need to take care of this. Because if you don't, then there goes our source of income and work and all that kind of stuff. There are also bad apples in the industry. So how would you deal with them? It's like any other field. If you are being harassed, then do the necessary. I've never had any issues.
Under normal circumstances, when you guys are teaching course, whatever courses like open water, advanced rescue, dive master, is it actually necessary to touch your students?
Depends. During the course, if everything goes smoothly, then no. Certain situations, certain circumstances will require you to help or take quick reaction so that it does not get worse for the individual. Like for example, if the student is as if he or she is going to shoot up to the surface, then you have to react. So trying to react to that, you might bump into the students in whatever manner, but that's not intentionally. Most of the time, what we do is as well, we will, observe and we'll come from the back. We'll try to, avoid being, in contact with the female students, but we come from the back so that we only manage the equipment to help out with the students. But yeah, sometimes, there are times where you can't avoid bumping into your female students but that's not intentional. What have you got to say, Mel?
Yeah, I think generally no. I agree with exactly what Diki said. I think generally the course itself, I really don't see any, how do I put it, physical touch needed on especially private areas or sensitive areas. Sometimes maybe by accident, I guess if it happens too often in the same course or that duration itself, maybe there's something that is cause for concern. But I guess it's subjective for different situations. It's very, very hard to say because it's not just the instructor, but it's also the students that we get. Everyone is very, very different underwater, and also learning is also very different. Generally, again, in a blanket statement for most average students, and also the course structure doesn't require you at all to actually have physical contact with all these sensitive areas. So in the sense of maybe the boundaries, that if women want to know what should I be concerned of, what is normal, if you feel, like I said, if it happened more than once or twice, and that short duration of your course, maybe that's something that you should maybe start talking to someone, maybe another dive pro, because the dive pro would know your situation better, a different person maybe, that is on ground at that particular point to hear your story. Maybe that's something that you can bring it up, before actually blowing it open. But of course, if there is cause for concern, always voice out. Do it in a sensible manner, because even for male instructors, it's our bread and butter. If we are wrongfully accusing people for something that is not right, that's also not good. But of course, if there is a case of sexual harassment, do voice out. Do not keep quiet, because there are cases where if this goes unchecked, you will not be the last victim. But again, do it with sensitivity and tact. Talk to different people. Even talk to the different schools. We are very, very particular about cases and issues like this. So proper investigation and discussion will be brought up. What really is the boundary? Once or twice, I guess, depends on the understandable. Again, like I said, depends. But if it's more and that's something that you feel very uncomfortable about, talk to someone. Talk to a different instructor, talk to a female instructor, have a second opinion, but do it with tact, do it with sensitivity. Don't feel that you can't talk about it. Don't feel that you should keep quiet about it. Like I say, all I'm asking is just do it with tact.
Both of you, as scuba mentor, how do you teach your dive pro candidates when it comes to dealing with the opposite sex?
In the IDC program, on the courses that we do to bring dive masters, or in the pro level, right? We always bring up this matter of being professionalism and safe from harm. It's taught to them, it's instilled in their mind that, they need to be sensitive with gender, female conduct, appropriate conduct, professional behavior, and that kind of stuff. So it's in the course, we tell them what are the do's and the don'ts. We highlight, in fact, during certain water skills, the way we teach them or how to approach students is always in a manner where we avoid inappropriate act. So those are the things that we do when we conduct pro-level courses. You have a different way of...
Same, I guess. 100% exactly the same. First things first, I think whenever we start someone on their dive pro level is to bring them into the manual and to talk about, proper conduct and all with women and child. Same with my dive pros also, I always do that. Specifically, there's one tip, maybe anyone, I think, women and men, I practice it too for both my women and men students in how I contact my students. Like I said, I think Adam earlier has mentioned, do I ask for consent? Yes, of course, not all the time you can, where cases where it's an emergency case. Quick thinking is something all dive pros should have the ability to. But if the situation calls for it, of course, you have got to do what you got to do. This is very rare. I think multiple layers should be avoided before even go into full-blown panics.
Yeah.
So all these are very, very rare situations. But of course, when it calls for it, it is what it is.
Bear in mind, there will be physical contact in diving, but it's very minimal. Not only that, you will avoid certain areas. But most of the time during dive courses, you will maybe, do fist bump, shake hand, or high five, that kind of stuff. So those are the typical physical contact they will get between instructors and students. The dive agencies, we have so many dive agencies, they take this matter very seriously. If an instructor or any dive professional were to get a written report for their misconduct, then so it's going to be investigated. And, as a dive instructor, I wouldn't want that. So
So the easiest way is do your proper research. Do proper research. Again, nowadays, I think it's quite easy to do your research. Reviews are everywhere now. Yeah, I mean, some reviews, be aware, there are cases where, of course, reviews are not entirely true. But again, a lot of different resources. Be smart about it. Do proper reviews about the dive center that you're going to engage. Don't make your basis of choice monetary. Not all cheap things are the best things. Again, if you're really, really uncomfortable and you're really, really scared, again, there's also dive centers that are run by women with women instructors. You can specifically also ask for that. Entirely up to you. But again, like Diki said, it's not everyone. It's maybe a few bad apples here and there.
On that note, the industry requires a lot of female dive pros. So you want to promote females divers to come up to become dive professional, dive master, instructor, and so on and so forth. So it's about time for the female to come into diving and become a business owners and dive professional.
Definitely.
So yeah.
I can see this. This is quite a sensitive and heavy topic, right?
Oh yes, it is.
Yes.
It is.
Why don't we? Hey guys, thank you so much for watching part 1 of this podcast. Kindly do go to our main page at the episode list to look for part 2. If you can't find it, it's probably going to be out in a few days. So kindly do subscribe to get notification of our latest content. Do stay tuned. Here's a preview of the next episode.
Therapist was asking me, aren't you sad that you have to, if that's my cost, I would pay it.
What is your take when it comes to peeing in your wetsuit? This is a question from our viewers as well.
Okay.
Breast implant. Guys are just stupid.
That's what I was about to say. What you said earlier, right?
As an instructor, I always split couples or family members. Even if I have a family members or parents and children, right, I will separate them.